There are some crazy things that Konami is implementing in Yu-Gi-Oh! That you need to know about right now. Today, big dog, we're going to be talking about some really huge problems that Konami is introducing into our card game and how it will affect us in the future. I think that these are incredibly important, even though they don't necessarily apply to us right now, because it shows the direction that Konami could potentially be going into. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Me and chat have a few problems that we want to address by Konami over the most recent announcements that they had. I think it's best to start off this video by talking about something that we were mentioning in the past, and while Europe has not gotten any YCS events. Up until now for the 2024 year, Europe has gotten 0 major events, and instead Konami has opted to give them opens. And basically an open is a regional with coverage. To be fair, opens aren't bad, but the Nats just had a bigger feeling. I personally think that the opens are really fun to do, even though they are big regionals, and I love the coverage on them. But the biggest problem is that during this time, Konami has not given a single YCS event to Europe, which is really disturbing, especially since we just got their back half of the schedule for YCSs and 0 involve Europe. And I have a couple of theories why Konami hasn't given Europe any events. I think one of the first ones comes to price. Hypothetically, when booking a European event, the venue may be incredibly expensive compared to a American or South American event, and that could prevent them from wanting to make a YCS. But there are definitely holes into this equation. One is that we know that Konami operates at a loss when they make YCS events. They don't make any money, they actually lose money when they host these particular events, but they do so in hopes to promote their Yu-Gi-Oh card game. We also know that Europe is one of the biggest markets for Yu-Gi-Oh right now, so it's almost counterproductive to know that you're going to be operating in a loss anyways and still decide not to have the event in Europe. Maybe they're testing another cheaper option where they could potentially have a profit margin. That could be US Opens, but there's a problem with US Open. We know at the end of the day, YCSs are the high level events. These are the events that decide who takes home the trophy, who's the champion, and who's the winner. And the problem with that is that unless you make something of equal value in Europe, you're not really doing anything. No disrespect to an Open, but it's pretty much just a regionals that's broadcasted. There's nothing special about these events, especially since there isn't any top cut. It's just X amount of rounds and then you're finished. Konami's not really trying to make this look more premier or just as premier as a YCS. Did you hear about the Belgian national issues? They scheduled it on voting day, which basically made it illegal for Belgian players to participate. There's no way! And that's a really big problem. It's because we know that European players will come in flocks to play at the event. At one point in time, they actually had the world record for most players at an event. European players are seriously dedicated, but the Yu-Gi-Oh community is completely falling apart because Konami has decided not to support them. And I don't want to try to fearmonger players, but Konami has been discontinuing product for Europe. Most recently, Europeans did not get speed duels, which I wouldn't think is necessarily a huge thing, but when you combine this with no YCSs, is Konami really starting to pull away Yu-Gi-Oh from Europe, and why? It's probably a financial issue, and the place is wanting more money and Konami can't afford it. I genuinely want to believe that that's the problem with Konami. But if they can afford nationals, what makes them not being able to afford YCSs? Is it genuinely Konami can only budget 1 2-day event for the whole thing? Or like, I don't understand. Maybe that's why they aren't doing YCSs. All their budget is going to so many Nats. You know, that could be an issue. I never want to have people think that Yu-Gi-Oh is just going out of business in Europe, but their decisions have been extremely questionable. So it's hard to even figure out what exactly they're doing, which leads me to the next problem. Konami just simply doesn't tell us anything. Konami Europe has been a little bit more open with telling us what needs to be said, which I do appreciate, but no one is giving us a reason why there's no YCSs this year. But if I said that that was the end of it, it does get a lot worse. Just recently, Konami made an announcement for Europe and Oceania, and this is where things get incredibly bad for everybody. It says, attention duelists, the Oceanic 2024 World Championship qualifier events, we'd like to give advance of a policy update. World Championship qualifier main event and world qualifying playoff participants must only use a plain solid color or officially licensed Yu-Gi-Oh mat. This means that pretty much if you're using a custom mat, it needs to be one solid color, nothing else, or you have to use an official Konami game mat. You cannot use anything else. Someone must have had a lewd 18 plus mats, and I understand sus mats, but official Konami mats are cheeks and peel easy. One of the reasons why people make their own. I think personally that this is a W and an L this whole time, because on one end, Konami has officially made a stance on players using lewd mats. Personally, I've always hated those type of Yu-Gi-Oh players that has a particular mat that's a little bit too revealing. But when you look at it, Konami has barred all types of mats from being used. I'm not going to talk about Konami's quality of their mats, but there's a reason why they hang on my wall and I don't use them. They are nice for decoration. They're cool. They're awesome looking. I will not play these mats, especially when you consider that Konami doesn't have many cloth mats that are even usable. The only way for you to be able to play a cloth material playmat by Konami is that if you get a time machine and go win a UDS and get one of those mats. And what do you mean by solid color? Like, so you're saying I could use a Spellground, but I can't use my like Bestial Clash of the Rebel? Like, what do you mean? So for context, chat, this is okay to play Yu-Gi-Oh on. This is an official mat. I don't know how you're gonna play Yu-Gi-Oh on this. This is not okay for you to play Yu-Gi-Oh on at a YCS event in Europe. I mean, it almost doesn't matter because you have to have a YCS in the first place, right? What's next? You must use a solid color of sleeves or official Konami sleeves? My brother. Yeah, we don't got YCSs. We big chillin'. Nah, they're talking about nationals too, big dog. And to be honest, they may even talk about opens in the future. You can only use a plain solid color or officially licensed Yu-Gi-Oh sleeve. My guy, have you seen the Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves? Seriously, guys. Have you actually used the official Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves? They feel terrible. If there was a sleeves tier list, chat, it would go like Ultra Pro at the bottom, my sleeves at the top, easy, and below that, like non-usable sleeves would be Konami's. I started with the Karibo ones in my first deck, and I nearly quit the game thinking they couldn't shuffle our Ultra Pro official Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves. No, the only official Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves are the sleeves that you get when you buy like the binders and stuff. I got a pack of these sleeves because I like the art. I got them when they first came out. I would never use these sleeves on a deck. Konami wants you to use these particular sleeves over your sleeve of choice, unless your sleeve is all one solid color. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that this is that much of a problem. And it's simply because most players use all white, all black, all blue sleeves anyway. But hypothetically, if you were to have some Amanda LaPalm sleeves, not gonna work anymore. There's no way you're gonna get me to use these type of sleeves for a duel. It's just not happening. And the weirder thing is that Konami doesn't sell all of their mats, which is crazy. Maybe if Konami gave us a selection of all their mats, we would consider using them. Nah, not even then. Again, there's some good and some bad with this. I think the good is that Konami is getting rid of lewd. The bad is that Konami could have done this way better. They could have literally just said any art depicting lewdness or graphical violence of any kind is banned. Boom! It's almost like players already knew that anyways, but to have it in the official documents would have definitely helped. I bought a fan art playmat of Hugin and now I can't use it. It's not lewd or anything. You're not a DJin. So hold on, guys. There's one thing I want you guys to know about. What? This is only for Europe and Oceania right now. Us American TCG players, we are in the clear. This means that I swear to God, if we go to a YCS event, guys, and you see someone with a lewd mat, bust them in their chops, chat. You have my wholeheartedly permission to take the mat and throw it away, all right? No, but seriously, tell them they cannot have that mat, because if we get that rule over here, I am fighting every single lewd person that I know. I mean, it's still a children card game. Bro, there are no children that play this game. These are grown men with their moms. I guess I can see that the reason why they did it this way is to make sure that there's no type of lewdness and that there isn't anybody that can think, oh, this isn't lewd, and take it to an event and then you have a problem. And it also does make it a little bit more uniform, as it is supposed to be a children's card game, even though we pretty much have to accept this is a grown person's card game. I also wanted to point out that some other card games like Bushy Road have implemented this for their events, so this isn't necessarily out of the norm, but I really want to know what you guys think. The last and most important rule is that if card sleeves or a game mat are provided for you to use during streams, you must use the items provided. Now, I think that they've been doing that in the US for years now, right? Like, that's always been a thing. So I don't think that that's necessarily a problem for us. pass. But at least they decided to put reasoning here down below. To reduce time spent during tournaments checking duelist accessories. Just look at the mat. Is it lewd? No. You would still have to check their accessories regardless. That's a dumb reason. If I sit down with somebody with a lewd match, I raise my hand and call the judge. I don't think that these are good reasons so far. I mean, all of this could be implemented that if a player sits down and it's a lewd mat, they could always just call for a judge. I mean, regardless, if a player sits down and they don't like the mat, they're just going to call for a judge anyways. To ensure we can consistently provide an experience for all attendees of ages. What experience though? During our events, we will have our judges and staff, particularly for our live stream, check whether our duelist accessories are eligible to be shown on our stream. So you were checking anyways. Watch, it will be a game loss for not having the proper mat and sleeves. Oh, it definitely will. We awarded all attendees with a participation game mat and a pack of sleeves for the event. We will be officially expanding this to world qualifying points participants who will receive an additional pack of sleeves as a part of their prize for world qualifying playoffs. Holy. So the biggest problem with this is that Konami is operating at a loss. And now, here's the funny thing. It seems like they're not bringing back any YCSs to Europe. But when they do stream on Europe, they're going to be operating at more of a loss because now it seems like they're going to be providing a game mat and sleeves for every single one of these events that either you have to use or use one of their official game mats or sleeves. But a good suggestion would be just bring YCSs back and just have players police themselves because they're pretty good at it. It's not like they're not going to do it already. All I know is that Konami is ruining the lifeblood of Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the biggest things that keeps Yu-Gi-Oh! Alive, especially through Konami's fumbles, is the players. Ironically, as much as Konami doesn't approve of it, having people make money off of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a good thing. Once you start to prevent players from being able to express themselves and purchase and use what they like, then you severely limit how many people would want to play your card game as opposed to others where they are allowed. It is incredibly frustrating to think that Konami would shoot itself in the foot multiple times and attempt to kill their game, all because when they make a rule to attempt to help, it actually winds up backfiring and making things worse. I also want to blame the people that take lewd mats to events. You guys seriously are some of the worst people in the world. Think about it. Hear me out. If Dan Snyder is getting in trouble for the stuff that he brings around kids, and P. Drizzy is getting in trouble for the things that he brought around kids, why would you bring around lewd things around children? It makes no sense. I've always been against stuff like that. That's incredibly weird, even more creepy, but more importantly, it's just shows that you have no character and morale. I have to say that not only is it an L for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, it's the L for the artists that have decided to make those type of lewd art and promote it, and it's also an L for Konami for not putting better restrictions in place to monitor those, but still allow people to be able to express themselves. But you guys want to know the irony here? Konami makes lewd artwork themselves. Could we as a community make a petition? I mean, we can. I don't think it'll do anything, but we can. Ain't nobody taking my slip aside Trap Trick summer swimsuit sleeves away from me. The FBI and Drake already tried. End the video, chat. We're done. We are done.